Hello, I'm back. How's everyone? Did you get a chance to watch all of the video? I noticed I told you it was shorter than it really was. Okay, any questions about how to set it up? Another thing I want to tell you, you noticed in the video, he told you to have the template set up first before you ran Autocrat. The other thing that I have found that it's really important to have set up before you run Autocrat is that folder where you're going to put your Autocrat information. So actually, you're better off to have two things set up, the folder and the template before you actually run Autocrat in the in your spreadsheet. That was I noticed that the first time when I didn't have a folder and then I just had to pick something, and that was kind of not as good as I had wished because I didn't know where it went afterwards because I couldn't remember what I picked. I'm sharing my screen again. A couple of other things before we turn it over to Awesome Tables. There's another really nice video right here from how to use Autocrat. And there's a Google Plus community for those of you who'd be interested in joining right here. So if you click here, you can go to the Google Plus community if you've ever used that. And they answer questions and tell you what's new and give you ideas of how you could use Autocrat. So it's pretty easy to join. Just click on the join and you'll be all set. I could add Judy right now, but I won't. I'll be good. And so the other thing is, over here is a really good article that you could read with some additional ideas on how to use Autocrat and ways you might use it and incorporate it. And then here's a link right here to some other ideas. Here we go. Oops. I'll have to fix that for you. Sorry. Go back. I'll fix it for you. And you can look at it later. And then if you want to get a copy of these slides, that's right here. And I think that's the end of the slides. So do you guys have any questions? I'm going to quit sharing my screen. Where is that? Why is it doing that? I don't know. Where's the shoes? Oh, stop share up here. Okay. Any questions? Did you want to run through something together? You have to unmute yourself. Don't forget, Sherry. I know. There are people who wish that I would just push the mute button and then start talking and they'd be really happy. But in order to hear anybody, we need to have you unmute. So the thing with Autocrat is play around with it.
What are you doing?
Would you put it in the chat box? Because I'm not getting it. Thanks. Sorry. Technology's grand, isn't it? So just chat me. Oh, okay. Down at the bottom of your screen, there should be a box that looks white. It says chat. If you click on that, you can type me a question. Do you see that? Yes? No? Oh, you have access to the slides now, I think. Click on them and see if they are. I think I shared those right. And I'll just give you the access to the article about lots of different resources and ways you might use Autocrat, from sending out certificates to signing up for what's everybody going to bring to the potluck. Could be anything. So I thought of that because there's a potluck here today. So just about anything you would want to collect information in and send it out automatically to people, you can use Autocrat, and it works pretty well. So, All right, with that, I'll turn it over back to Judy, and there you go.
Okay. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is some awesome tables. So let me share get ready back here in the background and close some of those windows that Marianne had open. Hang on a second. Marianne, you had lots of stuff open here.
Well, I think I was very busy.
Okay.
I worked hard.
You were very busy.
I worked hard.
Let's see, I need to get out of this. Right.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. Share my screen. All right. Thanks to Stephanie and Marianne for those two pieces of information. And now we're going to take a look at Awesome Tables. So I'm back at our TLC and Tech website. Just scroll down to Awesome Tables. And I want you to be able to do this with me today. So make sure you find that section. And then the first thing let's do is look at some examples. So click on the examples link. And I learned Awesome Tables. I've heard about them for about a year, and I learned how to do them in late August. We had an expert come down from Northwest AEA and train a room full of us for that day. And so since then, I've just been messing around with some data that I have just to try it out, and because that's the only way I can teach myself is to actually use it. So what I did was every time I created a different Awesome Table, I put the examples all here on one website, because the awesome thing about Awesome Tables is that you can share your data easily with whoever you want to. If you put it in a website, you could make it public, and then they can't mess with your spreadsheet. They can't mess it up. They can't accidentally type something in a cell that you didn't want them to, but they can still search and filter and sort your data and look at it. So the first thing on this Awesome Tables that I want to point out is, first I have to give thanks and some credit, of course, or all the credit, to Mandy Reynolds. I was there last week at Riverside with a couple TLC people, and we were learning Awesome Tables, and she created her Awesome Table. Do you see the last tab that says Tri-Center Needs Assessment? So she's the TLC curriculum director for Riverside and Tri-Center. And she took all that data and used Awesome Tables and then put it into this site that she made. So click on that. And thanks, Mandy, by the way, for doing this and sharing your information with us. And then I'll go back and show some other examples I made. But this is a real use that she has. So if you look on the left, she's got it sorted so that if you want to look at the needs assessment from the students, on the left you would click on All Students. And let that load because it's a lot of data. Okay. So when you look at this, you notice she had 261. Right here it tells me this is one of 261 records. And right now we're looking at all the buildings for Tri-Center. So it's got it broken down by and we're looking at students' data. So if we look down here, this is called an advanced summary of responses from a Google form. So in a regular Google form, you can see the summary of responses. But what Awesome Tables does is it lets you do an advanced summary so that you can break things down even more. So if you just glance through here, you'll see the questions that they asked the students and then how the students responded. And this is all students at all buildings. So take a second and glance through that. But then the awesomeness comes in if you scroll back to the top and click where it says building. Now I can filter and just see what the high school students said. And it'll recreate the chart. And so now I have, you'll notice, 154 responses from their high school students of what they thought. And so the data changes on here. Or I could go up here and I could add middle school students. So this is all of our secondary no elementary, 254 responses. And you'll notice that while I'm doing this, it's showing me what's being filtered up here. So if I now want to take out the high school students, I can click on the X. And now this is just middle school. And of course, it's changed to 100 responses. If I take that out, I'm seeing all students again. And she's done that for the data that came from parents, staff, students, all the responses, and then the data that came from community members. So thanks, Mandy, for doing that. Excellent example of how to use the advanced summary of responses template for Awesome Tables. So I'm going to close out of that. You can look at that more if you want to, because you'll always have a link to my Awesome Tables examples, so we'll leave that on there. So another example, that was advanced summary of responses. Another example is just a simple table. So if I go to this Google Expeditions and click on that, Google and Google Expeditions has lots and lots of different virtual field trips that teachers can take their students on. In fact, right now there's 281, as you can see. So this is just a simple table layout. Sort of looks like the spreadsheet. But the beauty of this is, if I want to search for a certain location to take my kids on an expedition, let's say I want to take them to Africa. If I type in Africa up here in my search, without even having to hit enter, it's already changed from 281 to 6 responses. So somewhere in location, the location column is the word Africa. So if you're taking your students on a Google expedition, there are 6 different places in Africa that you could take them to. Or I could type in the description and type, maybe it has something to do with a park. So somewhere in the description column is the word park, and there are 18 of them. So if you don't know the exact expedition you want to take them on, or you can show this to your teachers, it'd be very easy for them to find the expedition they want to take them on. And by the way, just to FYI, speaking of Google Expeditions, the RAEA is buying a kit that you can check out with 30 devices, so that up to 30 students at a time, a teacher can take them on these virtual field trips. So that's still in the works. We haven't purchased it yet or processed it, but I'll bet within the month we'll have that available to schools. So email me if you have any questions about that. So that's an example of an awesome table. Another one that you can do is turn something into a map. So I don't know that you would use this maybe as a TLC person, but this might be something that you want to show to your social studies teachers and have their students do this. So if you click on the Google Maps geocode add-on, I just put in, just for practice on this one, some famous people in Iowa. So you notice this is a map of Iowa, and it's got these little tags on it, and it's just a Google map. So if I click on this one, this is in Marion, Iowa. Donna Michi was born here. But the nice thing about this is, and you'd have to have a lot of data to make this work, or it doesn't make any sense. But I could go up here and say, show me all the ones that I put in that are entertainers. So the only one that was considered an entertainer was Johnny Carson, and he spent most of he was born in Corning, Iowa. And then I could go back up here and add, and now show me ones that are entertainers and or actors. And now it narrows it down to 3 of them. So there would be Donna Michi, John Wayne, and Johnny Carson. So I can sort by their name. So there are the 7 or 8 people that are famous in Iowa and what they're famous for, or I could sort by their birthplace. So that would be a great example that you could show your social studies teachers teaching some geography, where they could map famous people or famous places in different countries and bring all their data together for that. Does anybody have any questions? Marianne, would you check that? Did you see anything in chat? If you have a question, unmute and ask me, because, okay. Another example that I think a TLC person can use is this one of a Awesome Table file cabinet. And what it does is it lets you take any Google Drive folder. So if you have lots and lots of files in a Google Drive folder, it displays them as a file cabinet. And this is what they look like. So it's nice, easy to find them, and you can easily sort by what type of document it is, or who the owner of that document is, or if you have a creation date, it will let you narrow down, show me everything that's been created since between 11:15 and 7:16. Or you could actually use a search for that. So I know that many of you are sharing lots and lots of files with your staff, so this might be a great way for you and them to easily find the documents and presentations that you need. There is also, you can create people directories. I won't go into each one of these because I want to have you actually create an awesome table today. But when you get time, go back and look at some of these other examples. We're just going to create a simple table today. So are there any questions about the examples that you've seen? Feel free to play around with those. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our website for today. And let me show you around here before we do some practicing. So first of all, I've put 3 links on here, awesome-table.com, and then their documentation from awesome-table.com, and then their help forum, which is on a Google Plus community. So before we practice, let me show you what's here. Why don't you click on awesome-table.com and let's go look at that site. You can create your awesome table here. This is probably where you'll go most often. When you're just getting started, you won't see the same view that I do, but this shows me when I go here, all the tables that I've created. They're listed on the left. It shows me what kind of a table I have created, and actually they're using an awesome table to sort my awesome table. So if I want to see which ones are maps, or which ones are tables, or which ones are pie charts or whatever, I can look at it that way, or I can view the name, or I can look at the time it was last viewed. That's the other nice thing about this. If I hover over expeditions, it tells me in October 43 people looked at my awesome table that was a Google expedition. 6 looked at it in September. And then I have other options that I can do with that expeditions. I can edit it, I can open it in live view, and I can delete it. So all of your awesome tables eventually show up here. And you can link to them from here. So I could go right to expeditions here also. And it's not in a Google site, but I could still give you view privileges to go here in awesome-table and look at the same table that we looked at in my Google site. So you can have people look at it either place. All right, from this site, you can get to the community up here in the upper left. And it's sort of like the one Marianne just showed you, an autocrat. You can join this awesome table community, and people are asking questions and giving each other answers. And the person who created awesome tables is the one doing most of the, answering most of the questions that people have in here. So you can join that. And go back to awesome table. This is the one that you really need to pay attention to, is documentation, because this is where it tells you step by step how to do everything, and where you can find the templates and get help. Everything is here. So if I click on documentation and just scroll down, it tells you the basic configuration, and these are the steps to do. Set up your Google Sheet, how to configure it, the filters you can use, and the different parameters that you can set. And then how to set up your awesome table on a Google site, and how to set it up on any website. How to use their templates. There's some advanced tips and some known issues. And then they used an awesome table to give you relevant articles that are information, news, or new features or releases or updates. So that's all available on your documentation tab. So what this is going to tell you, if you just click on number 1 under basic configuration, is that the first thing you'll want to do is create or open an existing Google Sheet. And I love this because it shows you visually exactly what to do. So create a Google Sheet, then you're going to fill the sheet. Now you could create it from a form if you want to, or you can use just a regular Google Sheet. Make sure that you share it. So we'll go through all these steps in a second. And then it's got down here, when you're done with that part, how do you set up your spreadsheet? So that's where all of the help comes from. So if you forget everything I said, or if this recording's not working very well, or if you lose it, this is the best place to go. Is just go to awesome-table.com and look at their documentation, and it tells you step by step what to do. So that's where all your help is going to come from. Now let's go back to the website for today. And then click on Let's Practice. You might need me to slow down or have any questions at this point. Okay, if you click on Let's Practice, I have a spreadsheet that when you click on it, it will force you to make a copy of that. So go ahead and make a copy. And I've already got some data in here. So we'll let it finish making a copy for us. Okay, so you notice that this spreadsheet has a header row. So I'm going to select that row and make it nice and bold. And then you can see the data that I'm collecting. This is just an example instructional coach's log. So who was the coach would be username. What building were you in? I made up some teacher names. And then what type of interaction. This all came from a form. What kind of collaboration was it? Standards and outcome you were looking at. What was the setting, the meeting type, and then any notes. So we're going to turn this into an awesome table. So step 1 is to create your sheet, and then we have to share it. So everybody knows how to do this. Click on the share button. And I'm going to make this so that anyone with the link can view it. Now, depending on who you're sharing your data with, you can limit that also. So if you just need to share that within your district, then change it so that anyone in your district can find and access it and view it. But if you're going to make it so that community members can see it, I would make it anyone with the link. I'm going to save that and be done. So I've made my sheet and I've shared it. And now we're ready to turn it into or start building our awesome table. So the first thing you have to do when you're ready is you need to insert a blank row 2. So you can either right click and insert one above row 2 or one below row 1. So make sure you have a blank row 2. And if you're doing this in a form, it's the same thing. Just take the data that came from a form and then make a blank row 2. And then when people add to the form, it won't hurt anything. All right. Now I'm going to kind of flip back and forth between my awesome table and my awesome table site in here. In documentation, the next thing that you need to know is what the available filters are. So I'm going back to available filters under documentation. And the nice thing about this is from their website, they show you, like, for the first one is a string filter. It tells you what to do. So use the string filter to filter columns containing free text. So if you were doing a Google form and people could do a paragraph or an open response of some kind, you might want to use a string filter for that. Or if you're asking people for their names and it's not a specific set of names, then you're going to want to use a string filter for that. So this tells you about that. And then the great thing about the Awesome Table site is if you scroll down, it's got a demo of that. So it's there. You'll notice that it's looking in description for anything in description. Then you can try it. So if I just type in fresh, it's going to show me that it's got one result with the word fresh in it. So that lets you give it a try. So anything with notes or descriptions, or when people can put in any type of a string, you're going to use a string filter. So your filters are string filter, the number range filter, and by the way, pay attention to how they have these written. You notice for number range filter, there's no spaces, but there's a capital N, a capital R, and a capital F. So you need to write it exactly like that when we go back to our spreadsheet. So number range filters, you're going to use that when you're filtering dates or any numbers or prices or anything that involves a number. And those are sliders. If you go try the demo, if I want to change this to price, those turn into sliders. Date filter, exactly what it says. If you have a range of dates, then you can sort by that. These are the most common filters you'll use. A category filter. So if you're doing multiple choice, if you asked a multiple choice question, category filter would be perfect because you already have a limited list. So if you look down here, and I've showed you some examples of that before, if I choose a country like France, then it's going to show me everything from the column country that has the word France in it. So then you would use a category filter for those. If you have a form that has check boxes, which then when it comes back into a spreadsheet, it separates them with commas, then you would probably want to use a CSV filter, and you notice CSV is not capitalized here. So CSV filter, if you have columns that contain lists that are separated by commas, you want to use a CSV filter. That way you can find something from the list within there. So the example here is skills and expertise. You notice this one has knowledge management, comma, change management. So I could go up here to skills and expertise and say which ones have change management. Then even though it's got knowledge management and change management, it will find those that have change management in there. So that's a CSV filter, very common one. If you don't want to use a filter, you use the filter called no filter, capital N, capital F. So if you don't need to filter something, just put no filter there. Okay, so you might want to make a list of those somewhere, but let's go back to the document that we're working on, our copy of AT Practice Instructional Coaches Log. So I used usernames would automatically gather email addresses, but this is going to be, since it's just Marianne, Stephanie, and I who are the coaches and who are filling this out, I'm going to make this a category filter. So I'll just type category filter. So in A2, put category filter. That way we're going to choose either Judy, Marianne, or Stephanie. And the same with building. We have elementary, middle school, and high school. So again, that would be a category. Now, if you want to filter by teacher, it could be all different teachers here. You could do a category filter, but if you have quite a bit of staff, then you'd have a long list to look through. So you might either make this a string filter, capital S, capital F, or you could put no filter here. Maybe you don't need to filter by teacher, but we'll leave that for string for now. Okay, if you look at the column for type of interaction, you notice they have commas. So this was a checkbox in the original form. So this will be a CSV filter because we want to filter wherever the commas are. The implementation process, that was a short list of multiple choice. And so we'll just make that a category filter. The focus, you can either make this a string filter or a category filter. This one's also separated by commas. Setting would be a category filter. I could actually just copy these over. The next one is a meeting type. A lot of category filters here in this one. When you do your first awesome table, if you're not quite sure with filters, I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. And then notes. Notes, if I want to search for something in notes, I would probably just use a string filter here because I have no idea what people are going to write in the notes section. So I might want to just search for technology, or I might want to search for planning, or I might want to search for classroom or something like that. Okay, any questions so far on row 2, adding filters? While you're thinking of your questions, I'm going to select row 2, and I like to change my filters to the color red, just so they show up really nice and bright. Okay, I'll give you a second to fill those in. So just to recap what we've done so far, we have a spreadsheet, we shared it, and we inserted a blank row 2, and that's where we're putting in those filters. And remember, you find those filters on the documentation tab for awesome-table.com. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to go to Awesome Table. And I'm going to create my Awesome Table here. So on the awesome-table.com website, I'm going to look for and find this nice yellow circle with a white plus in it to add a new one. So let's click that. And the first thing is the project name. So I'm just going to call this Practice TLC Log. And then the next one wants to know the spreadsheet URL. So I have to go back and copy the URL from my spreadsheet, and I'm going to paste it here. The third thing I need to fill in is the sheet name. So I'm going to go back again to my spreadsheet and look down here, and you'll notice that it's sheet 1 with no spaces. So over here, I'm going to type in sheet 1, no spaces. So if you have several sheets in your workbook, make sure the one that you have the Awesome Table on is the sheet that you're using. And then the next part is the range. So on your spreadsheet, mine goes from, the spreadsheet goes from A1 over to column I. So here it will be A1, and you use the colon for through, and I'm just going to do I. I'm not going to do I-20 or I'm not going to give it an ending row, because if you've got more data coming in and it populates that spreadsheet, if you just do through I, it will look all the way down for all the rows in I that are populated. So don't fill a number in there. So it's just A1 through I on this spreadsheet. And click on Create. And you'll notice right away you have on the left, you have your Awesome Table with all of your filters at the top. And so give it a try for a second. Try changing choose your setting. Try picking a username for whoever your coach was. So if I pick Marianne, there are the 5 interactions that Marianne had as a coach. Or I could pick Marianne's username and say that it was a DLT, and she had one of those. So you can add as many or as few filters as you want to. So if that's working, then you have some buttons up here right above it where you can open the live view that looks like an eyeball. You can open your sharing options, which we're not going to do right now. You can copy this view, and then you have more with those 3 little dots, which will take you back to documentation or the community. So I'm going to give you just a minute to play around with your awesome table or catch up with me. Or ask any questions that you have. Marianne, you're watching the chat, right? So if you want to type a question in the chat, go ahead, Marianne's. I've got this full screen on mine, so Marianne's watching the chat room for us.
I'm ready to chat.
And she's ready to chat. All right. Now you notice on the on the right-hand side of this, you can change things around. This is where your settings are. We've already put in our data source. So the next thing is the view configuration. And right now, this is just a simple table view. And so on the right, it says visualization type table. If you change that, you can, and it depends on what you want it to look like. But remember that nice advanced summary of responses that Mandy Reynolds did for all of that data that she gathered? All she had to do to change it from a table to advanced summary was change this visualization type to advanced summary, and then update the view and let it reload itself over there. And now you have, in a blink of an eye, your 17 different entries are now in advanced summary of responses. Love that. That is so easy. Now, if I were going to try and do cards or maps or GeoChart, those are not going to work just because I don't have that data in that spreadsheet. So if I don't have any addresses or locations, I can't turn this into a map, or I can't turn it into cards because I need to do some extra things with that. So for today, just take a look at table and then try changing your data or mine to advanced summary so you can see the difference between those two. The next section over here on the right is formatting. And I don't usually change that. I mean, you could change the background color from white if you wanted to. Marianne, is there something in the chat? I just got to pop up.
Anything with that string filter and it isn't working.
Are they using, I don't, whoever asked that, who was asked that question? Leah. Leah, did you use my data or are you using your own spreadsheet?
We are using your data.
Okay, so let's go back and look at the spreadsheet. And which one did you put a string filter in? I just put it in notes and teacher.
Yeah, notes and teacher, and that's the one that we don't have. Like when we go to Awesome Table, the teacher is blank. Like we can type in it. Is that normal? Like it doesn't have the plus sign on the top with the practice log.
And when you did string filter, you didn't put any spaces in there. It starts with a capital S and a capital F.
Correct. Yeah.
So you're in you're in row 2, 2C, or C2, you have string filter
Yeah.
over Smith.
Yep.
Okay, and then what is it that you're seeing in your awesome table or not seeing?
Well, like when I'm in the practice log, you know how you could select like Judy on username and
Mhm.
the teacher
Is just white.
it's
Oh,
just,
I know what you're saying. Okay, you have to, when it's a string filter, since they're not sure what you're looking for, you have to type in the name of a teacher. So type in Smith.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Category filters let you use that plus and choose from a list. But if it's a string filter, you're saying it could be anything.
Awesome.
So,
Okay.
yep, that's just a type in. Good.
Yeah.
Got it. Any other questions?
When you type
Thanks for helping me clarify that, Leah. Yep, with category filters, you get a plus. With CSV filters, you will get a little drop-down arrow, and with string filters, just an open box to type in what it is you're searching for. Okay, the other thing on the right under advanced parameters, we're not going to need to do anything with that today. All right, so the last thing I want to do is show you how to put this in a website. So we've got our practice TLC log done. If you want to, you can do this next step with me, but I'm going to just go to create a new site. Let's see, I'll put it on my Awesome Tables demo. And I'll just add a separate web page here. So what I've done is I've done the spreadsheet, I've put in the filters, and I've created my awesome table at awesome-table.com. Now I'm just going to create a practice page here in a Google site. Okay. This is so easy, it's unbelievable. So I have a blank web page here with my cursor waiting. I have to go up here to Insert. And then I choose More Gadgets. And it defaults to our AEA gadgets. I want public gadgets. So I'm going to click on public on the left. And then up here in search, I'm just going to type awesome. And the one that shows up at the top is Awesome Table. So I'll click on that and select. Okay, it says set up the Awesome Table view. It says new or use an existing. You could build your Awesome Table right from here. However, we just created one, so I'm just going to go to use an existing, and it lists all of the Awesome Tables I've created. And so I'm going to look for our copy of the TLC practice right here, practice TLC log. And now I have some options. I'll let it do its thing here. But it should remember I wanted sheet 1 and this range. I could make it a public spreadsheet, but here's all those same settings that we just went through in Awesome Tables. But you can now change them if you want to. So it copied my spreadsheet in there. So all I've done is choose that spreadsheet, or excuse me, choose that Awesome Table. I'm not changing anything else. I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to click OK. Now, as you know, with anytime you put a gadget on a web page, it looks kind of funky like this. If I want to, this is my Awesome Table. I can click back here on Properties. All of this comes back. But what I like to do with mine is include a scroll bar, but not a border or a title. So I check the first box and not the other two. I do want it to go 100% width. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to center this, and I'm going to save. So all I had to do was insert that gadget, find the Awesome Table that I created, insert it, and now it's on a website where it's very easy to share with other people. And see, I put a scroll bar on the right so that they can look at all the data. That's really important, especially on this one. And that's all you have to do to get it into a website. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Gonna stop sharing, bring you guys back in. Okay. So I hope I've answered all of your questions. If you want to try an awesome table with your own data and have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. I'd be happy to help you and take a look at it. All you have to do is share your spreadsheet with me, and then I can kind of talk you through if you're having any challenges with that. If you want to try some of the more advanced awesome tables like cards or the charts or the, I've never done a NAT chart before, or the geocoding or any of that, they have templates at that site too that you can copy the template and then just paste your own spreadsheet in and change it so that your data is there and not there. So just play around with that. But just the basic table or the advanced summary of responses is, that's all you have to do to create an awesome table of that information. Questions, comments? Like I said, I'd be happy to help you with your awesome table. Hearing none. Any other questions or comments for the good about working with data? Marianne. Marianne's going to come up
I don't
here.
want to scream.
So I didn't want to squeal at you, so I thought I'd just come up here. I fixed that link so that there's lots of ideas on how you can use Autocrat with your teachers. And there were some interesting ones from a PE teacher. He keeps track of a lot of things and then sends out logs on all different kinds of things, from the fact that you didn't dress out to, and sends that home to parents, as well as he also does, keeps track of how many push-ups you did and that sort of thing, and sends that out to kids. So lots of different things you can do with Autocrat, and I too be happy to answer any questions and help you out. Just dream big.
Yep. Stephanie, anything else from you?
That's just a ditto for me. I'll help whatever you guys need help with. So.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions or comments or anything else, I think that's it. We're going to end at 11:45. Our email addresses will be added to I don't think those are on our webpage.
No.
Will be added to our webpage. So, and our next meeting is November 30th. Again, it will be in person, via Zoom, or you can watch the recording later. And it will be all about communication tools. So that's what's coming up on November 30th. So we hope to see everybody there. Thanks for coming today. And again, email us if you have any questions.
Perhaps maybe some suggestions for improvement.
Yes, and if you have any suggestions for improvement, email us also. Thank you. All right, have a good day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.